Hi again, everyone. Gary Digital Williams here on Boxing on the Beltway Podcast Network. And the Boxing on the Beltway Podcast Network brought to you as always on Spreaker.com, Stitcher.com, iHeartRadio.com, also on TuneIn, Podcast Addict, Spotify, and on Google Podcasts. So anywhere you can go, you can find the Boxing on the Beltway Podcast Network. We're also on YouTube as well. You can also hear it on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Digital25 as well. And this week we're going to do something like we did last week. Last podcast we put together, we had a history of boxing on ESPN on their Friday Night Fight show. This week we're going to do another one about the history of boxing on another long-time medium. A medium that, quite frankly, wasn't all that kind to Beltway boxing, like ESPN's Friday Night Fight. The number of Beltway boxers were on Friday Night Fights, but not as many were on this medium that we're going to talk about this week. And so that's our focus of the podcast for this week. The Boxing on the Beltway Podcast Network brought to you as always by Real-Time Pain Relief, from boxers to ballerinas, for shoulder pain and muscle strain, everything between. Boxing on the Beltway recommends Real-Time Pain Relief, the natural, plant-based, safe, fast, and effective ointment. Go to freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief. You get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief, the official pain relief of the 2020 Daytona 500. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com. She has great weight loss tips, great jewelry, and great training methods on her site. That's Deborah, Debra Spears.com. Well, this week we're going to look at another great cable network that showed boxing overall for many years, showed some fantastic bouts over their 45-year period. But as far as Beltway boxing is concerned, they weren't all that kind. Until really late in their run in boxing history. Talking about home box office, better known, of course, as HBO. Now, he said HBO covered boxing, showed boxing from 1973 all the way up to 2018. And they did show some fantastic bouts, no question about that. I mean, they showed when, I remember right off the top of my head, George Foreman knocked out Michael Moore. They showed that bout. They showed some excellent bouts in their career, in their history, I should say. But when it came to Beltway boxing in Washington, Maryland, and Northern Virginia, HBO didn't really do all that much for us. They did show some great bouts, including Beltway boxing. We're going to get through that. We're not going to go through every bout that was shown for Beltway boxers, but we're going to give you some of the highlights of it. And the highlights that it did show were pretty good, I will say that. But they're just the volume, the number of boxers that it showed over the period from the Beltway weren't all that high, in all honesty. So we'll talk about that. Now, any talk about Beltway boxing on HBO has to begin with one of the greatest boxers of all time, definitely one of the greatest boxers ever come out of the Beltway, and that's, of course, the Hall of Famer, Sugar Ray Leonard. Now, of course, he was a 6-time world champion. He appeared on HBO 11 times from 1978 to 1989. His first bout was in Boston, Massachusetts, against Dick Eklund, and he won a 10-round decision. That was on July 18th, 1978. But it was his third bout that would be a milestone for the Beltway area, because it's the first time that HBO televised the bout from this area. It was on January 11th, 1979. It was a bout between two Washington area boxers, as Leonard defeated Johnny Gant by 8th round TKO, and that bout took place at the old Capitol Center. Okay. Now, Leonard's other appearances on HBO included both his fights with Thomas Hearns, including his legendary one in 1981 when he won a 14-round knockout there. And, of course, the draw took place in the rematch. His first swan song bout against Kevin Howard, and that was a tough bout for him there. He tried, but then came back. Came back because his championship win in 1987 against Marvelous Marvin Hagler was on HBO. His bout against Don Lalonde, and his third bout with Roberto Duran. So that went from 1978 to 1989. But during that time, he was really the only one that really was from the Beltway on HBO at that time. Now, I don't count Riddick Bowe, because really, Riddick Bowe, although he fought out of Fort Washington, Maryland, he continued to claim Brooklyn, New York as his home. So I don't continue, and that's a point of contention with some people. Some people put him on the list of all-time Beltway boxers. Some people don't. And I'm one of the ones that don't, because, again, he was from Brooklyn, New York. He always claimed that. He never claimed that he was from Fort Washington, Maryland, although he lived here. He was, of course, that would put him close to his as a manager, Rock Newman. So he really did not perform here. I mean, did not really, and he did boxing. We'll talk about that a little bit in just a moment. But truth be told, he was not from the Beltway, and I stick to that contention. I really do believe that. So the next true Beltway boxer to appear on HBO was Percy No Mercy Harris. He was out of Laurel, Maryland, and his final bout in his career on December 5th, 1992, Harris lost by fourth round TKO to a future star by the name of Roy Jones Jr., and that was in Atlantic City. Okay, so Percy No Mercy Harris, after Sugar Ray Leonard, was the next Beltway boxer to appear on HBO. Now, Riddick Bowe will say this. He did figure prominently, I should say, on May 22nd, 1993. He headlined a card at RFK Stadium. He defended his undisputed World Heavyweight Championship against Jesse Ferguson. He scored a second-round knockout of Jesse Ferguson on that card. Also on that card would be a matchup of future Hall of Fame boxers, as Roy Jones Jr. would defeat Bernard Hopkins. Now, this bout, and I tell you, I did not attend this card. I was not at this card. I did watch the card on television and on HBO. And really, that bout between Roy Jones Jr. and Bernard Hopkins was an awful bout, because neither boxer would be the star that they would later become. The bout was just terrible. I fell asleep halfway through the bout, to be perfectly honest with you. It was terrible. No question about that. Now, there were some Beltway boxers on that card. Charmaine Mitchell, we talked about a couple weeks ago. He was on that card, as well as Andrew Maynard was on that card as well. So, for Beltway boxing, this bout between Bowe and Ferguson marked the beginning of a significant drought. HBO at that time went almost 13, 14 years before a bout was televised here. In fact, they went longer than that, perfectly honest. We went all the way up to 2011 before a bout was televised here in Washington, D.C. We'll get to that one in just a moment. Now, on February 9th, 1996, there was a Beltway boxer veteran who got a close look at boxing's future, and that was when Darrell Terrible T. Tyson faced a young Oscar De La Hoya in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, it wasn't a long look for Tyson, because he got knocked out in the second round. A vicious body shot from De La Hoya stopped Darrell Tyson in that bout. In the end of the 1990s, saw more Beltway boxers appear on HBO's airways. Former two-time heavyweight champion Hasim Rahman of Baltimore, Maryland, Hasim Rahman Sr., I guess you can say now, made the first of 11 appearances on the network, tying him for the most Beltway boxers to appear on, among Beltway boxers to appear on HBO with Sugar Ray Leonard. On November 1st, 1997, at the famed Apollo Theater in Harlem, New York, he defended the USBA title and won the IBF Intercontinental title against Obed Sullivan, won a unanimous decision there. On January 31st, 1998, Rahman defended both belts with another unanimous decision over Jesse Ferguson in Atlantic City. And on the co-feature on that card was former three-time world champion Simon Brown. Now, Brown was on the tail end of his great career and was seen as a solid name. Such was the case when he was stopped by Bernard Hopkins in this bout in the sixth round. On December 19th of 1998, Hasim Rahman lost a controversial bout. He was stopped by David Tua in the 10th round in Miami, Florida. It would take almost an entire year before another Beltway boxer appeared on HBO. That would be Rahman once again on November 6, 1999, when he would lose for the first of two times against Oleg Maskayev by 8th round TKO. Now, the new millennium, 2000, would see old familiar Beltway names appear on HBO. On February 26, 2000, Madison Square Garden, Darrell Too Sweet Coley made his only appearance on HBO, losing by 7th round TKO to Oscar De La Hoya. On May 20th, 2000, Rahman would make his 5th appearance on the network. He would come from behind to beat South African Corey Sanders, not our Corey Sanders from D.C., but the late Corey Sanders of South Africa, by 7th round TKO in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The year 2001 saw one Beltway boxer make his pro debut on HBO, while 4 others appeared in four of the biggest bouts of the year. Clarence Untouchable Vincent. Now, for those who don't remember Vincent, he was a great boxer. He won a bronze medal in the 2000 Olympics. And he was one of our last Olympians from the Beltway to actually medal in the Olympics. Bronze medalist in 2000. He made an inauspicious pro debut on January 27th at Madison Square Garden. Vincent won a 4-round unanimous decision over Adrian Valdez, but he was not well received during that bout. 2001, however, will be the year of the Middleweight Championship Series at Madison Square Garden. We talked about that a few weeks ago here on the podcast. Two Beltway boxers, prominent figures in the action. WBC champion Keith Holmes, WBA title holder William Joppy looked to defend their titles. However, their opponents were two future first bout, actually now current first bout Hall of Famers. April 14th, Keith Holmes lost his title to Bernard Hopkins, IBF Championship, by unanimous decision. And on May 12th, that was on April 14th, May 12th, of course, Joppy dropped his crown to Phoenix Trinidad by 5th round TKO. So that was a tough break there, but two of our great middleweights were on HBO. But in between those two bouts, April 14th, May 12th, HBO showed one of the truly biggest upsets in recent memory. That was on April 21st in Carnival City, South Africa. As Asim Rahman stunned the boxing world, he knocked out Lennox Lewis in the 5th round to win the WBC, IBF, and IBO heavyweight titles. Victory was voted the upset of the year by Ring Magazine, but Rahman would not hold the title long as he would be decimated by Lewis in the 4th round of the rematch, also shown on HBO on November 17th in Las Vegas. Now, Rahman's defeat of Lewis in the first bout will also mark another milestone. The last time Beltway boxer would win a bout on HBO until 2011. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But this does not include Winky Wright and DeVarrell Williamson. Now, Winky Wright and DeVarrell Williamson both were born in D.C. However, they both claimed other cities as their hometown. So again, they're not, to my way of thinking anyway, full Beltway boxers. Winky Wright, especially out of Florida. I believe DeVarrell Williamson was out of Colorado. But neither one of them, they were both born here and did appear on HBO, but they were not true Beltway boxers. Now, in 2002, HBO would get their first look at former world flyweight and super flyweight champion, of course, the Hall of Famer now, Mark Too Sharp Johnson. On February 23rd of 2002, Johnson campaigned as a bantamweight in a rematch up against Rafael Marquez in Las Vegas. This was a very, very weird night. I'll never forget this night. Because when Johnson left the ring that night, he thought he had won the bout. But he found out in his hotel room that he lost a split decision. That was very, very weird. So they had a rematch, and in the rematch, Johnson was stopped in the 8th round of that bout. On June 1st of 2002, Rahman made his 8th appearance on HBO. He traveled to Atlantic City to face Evander Holyfield. Now, I was at this bout at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. I was at this bout, and Rahman would lose by an 8th round technical decision loss, and that was the famous statement that Rahman made. Said, "I had a head on top of my head." He had a huge lump on his head, on the right side of the head, and left side of the head. It was on the left side of the head, and it was just ugly. No question about that. And he said, "I had a head on top of my head." On March 29, 2003, Rahman came back to HBO in a rematch with David Tua in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Once again, controversy would reign as the two would fight to a 12-round draw. July 12, 2003 saw the HBO debut of WBO junior welterweight champion DeMarcus Chop Corley. This would be a title defense for Corley, in which he would not be the favored fighter because his opponent was Zab Judah. And the two met in Las Vegas, and Judah won by a very close split decision. In 2004, three Beltway boxers made unsuccessful bids on HBO. Corley challenged Floyd Mayweather Jr. on May 22nd in Atlantic City, New Jersey, lost 12-round unanimous decision. July 17th, Teddy Reed, Two Guns Reed out of D.C., made his only appearance in the network, losing by 8th round TKO in Houston, Texas. And on December 4th, Joppy would return in a losing effort, dropping an easy 12-round unanimous decision to Jermaine Taylor. In 2005, DeMarcus Corley made his 3rd appearance on HBO, being stopped in the 5th round by Miguel Cotto. on February 26th in Bayamon, Puerto Rico. And then former WBA junior welterweight champion Shambe Mitchell challenged Floyd Mayweather on November 11th in Portland, Oregon, and he lost that bout as well. And then in 2005, Rothman also appeared twice on HBO. He was in his second term as WBC heavyweight champion. He fought James Troney to a draw on March 18th in Atlantic City, and then he lost that WBC crown to Oleg Maskaev, his second loss to Maskaev, on August 12th in Las Vegas by 12th round TKO. The very next week, Shambe Mitchell was stopped in the 4th round by Paul Williams in Reno, Nevada. Now, that basically was it for quite some time until 2011, December 10th, 2011. And that was the night at the Washington, D.C. Convention Center where Lamont Peterson defeated Amir Khan and won the welterweight championships. And that was really, for a while, a long time even after that, the last time boxing appeared in D.C., in the Beltway area. HBO boxing appeared in the Beltway area until April 8th, 2017. That was when HBO came to the MGM National Harbor Casino in Oxon Hill, Maryland. She gave us the card that featured Vasily Lomachenko taking on Jason Sosa and beating Jason Sosa by 8th round TKO. So that is it. I mean, that was the history of Beltway Boxing on HBO. Pretty short history compared to ESPN, and definitely compared to Showtime, which I'm still compiling that history for Beltway Boxing on Showtime. We've been on Showtime numerous times. We'll say this, though. Another person that's been on HBO Boxing, not as a boxer, but as a ring announcer. HBO had a show one time called KO Nation, and it was going to be a hip-hop boxing show. It was around 2000, 2001, and Discombobulating Jones did appear on that show. Our ring announcer, Discombobulating Jones, did appear on that show. But other than that, HBO, like I said, has not been very, very kind to us over the 45-year history of the boxing on the network. Am I sad to see HBO not do boxing anymore? Yeah, I am. I think they overall did a wonderful job, and Jim Lampley and Larry Merchant at one point. Although I wasn't a big Larry Merchant fan, he did well. George Foreman, Roy Jones Jr., of course, the late great Harold Letterman was a major part of that. Emmanuel Stewart, God rest his soul, was also a part of that over the years. And they did do some wonderful bouts, and they did do some wonderful, had some great moments of boxing on HBO. But they no longer decide to do it. They do great documentaries. They do have great sports shows, like Real Sports is a wonderful show, no question about that. But their time has passed as far as boxing is concerned. So that is the history, overall history of Beltway Boxing on HBO. Now, before we finish, I must say this week marks the 26th anniversary of my marriage to my wife, Evelyn James Williams. I just want to take this opportunity to thank her, and I really do appreciate her love and support of me for my boxing journey over the years, as well as just being my wonderful wife. She's been a wonderful wife, great mother to our 3 kids, they're not kids anymore, but 3 young adults now, except for my youngest one. But Sienna, Christopher, and Courtney, my 3 C's, as I call them, she has been a wonderful mother to them. And I just wanted to express my love and gratitude to my wife, Evelyn Williams, as we celebrate our 26th wedding anniversary this week. All right. But that'll do it for another edition of Beltway Boxing, Boxing on Beltway Podcast. And, of course, Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network brought to you by Real Time Pain Relief. Go to freepainoffer.com. Buy $10 worth of Real Time Pain Relief. You get a free $10 tube of Real Time Pain Relief, the official pain relief of the 2020 Daytona 500. Rub it on. The pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com. Great weight loss tips, great jewelry, great training methods at Deborah, Debra Spears.com. Please stay safe and join us once again for another edition of the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network. I'm Gary Digital Williams. Thank you again for joining us. Always remember, keep supporting the best boxing in the world, the boxing along the Beltway. Thanks for listening.